Welcome to today's video where I'm going to tell you about all of the books that I read in June and July. I know it's like halfway through August already. We're not talking about that. I read 10 books in June and July. There were definitely some good ones, but there were also some really bad ones. So I thought I would tell you which ones you should and should not read. Starting off pretty mediocre with Giovannis Room. I do not have this book because it was actually lent to me by my friend. Frankie lent me Giovannis Room, which is about this man who travels from America to go to Paris, and whilst he's there he starts a relationship with a man. I can't remember exactly when this was set, but it was definitely when being gay was like criminalized, so it all had to be kept secret. Personally, it wasn't my favorite book kind of at all. I've rated it a 3 out of 5, not because I really enjoyed the story of it. I think the story was quite boring, to be honest, but I really enjoyed the writing style. It was very pretty and there were definitely some beautiful quotes that you can take away from it. I also think the context of the book is really important. The fact that it was written at a time when being gay was like not okay. I mean, a lot of people think it's not okay now, but you know what I mean. It was even worse to be gay back then. So it was a very brave book to write. I need to stop reading books that I think I should read rather than books that I actually want to read. There's a difference when a friend recommends it to me. Like, even if I end up hating the book, I love being able to discuss it with them, so I'll always read a book that a friend recommends me. But yeah, this is me saying that if you don't like classics, then like just don't bother. Go and read your YA romance. Like, that is so perfectly fine. On to a book that I do have that my dad recommended me. This is My Brilliant Friend by Eleanor Ferrante. I'm pretty sure this is quite popular at the moment because it was like the 10-year anniversary of this being published. I really enjoyed this book. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. It is a book about girlhood. Girlhood is so on topic right now with like the Barbie film, and I think this is such a lovely representation. It starts off with this old woman who is looking for her friend, and you don't really hear anything about that just yet. Instead, you're taken back to when they first met and when they were friends at school and everything that they got up to. It is set in Naples in Italy. I think it starts in like the 50s or 60s. There's family rivalries, quite a lot of jealousy between the two girls, but then at the same time they're like best friends. So much happens because it spans over so many years. I don't read too many books about friendship, so this was very refreshing in that sense. There's also some essay in this, so be wary of that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely gonna get the next 3 books I think there are. The next book I read was Family of Liars by E. Lockhart. This is the prequel to We Were Liars, and I read We Were Liars, I don't know, like a decade ago. If you haven't read We Were Liars, I recommend you reading that one first. I rated this a 3.5 out of 5. It didn't blow me away. Like, I did have my expectations high because We Were Liars was so good for me. It had been a while since I read a YA book, so getting back into it was really fun. The writing style of YA is just so easy. It's definitely more plot and character driven. We follow the Sinclair sisters who are on their family island. They're super rich, and then these 3 boys who are like family friends, I think, come onto the island for summer. There's some romance, there's some betrayal, again there's some essay. There's definitely a big twist in this that I didn't see coming. It was definitely a fun one for me. If you like a little YA mystery, then I do recommend this. Next, I read The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, and I actually don't have that book anymore because I donated it. Maybe that gives you an idea of how I felt about the book. I rated it a 2 out of 5, which I know is like pretty surprising because it's so popular. I just really didn't like it. Again, it was so hyped up that I think I was let down, but I've also just learned that Olivia Blake is a fanfiction writer. I think she wrote a lot of Dramini fanfiction, which is Draco and Hermione, and I think The Atlas 6 is quite heavily based off of Harry Potter. Now that I know that, I kind of see where it's all come from, and I also understand now why it kind of read like fan fiction. It's about 6 magical people pitted against each other to win a place at this magical library, archive, research like facility. There's 6 of them and they're all competing for 5 places, so one person won't be able to be accepted into this group. The premise sounds really interesting to me. Like, I really enjoy stuff like that, so in theory I should have liked this book. I thought the writing was really like cringy, like it was just trying to be too smart. A lot of the time it ended up not even making sense. I also thought a lot of their powers were just like so similar to each other that I found it really difficult to discern who was who. And also there was like a big twist at the end which didn't really shock me at all. I kind of just didn't care. I didn't like any of the characters. Probably why I didn't care about the thing at the end. It didn't do it for me, and so I've literally got rid of the book. And I think I actually started that book in like February or something like that, and I only finished it last month. Luckily after that I read a really good book called Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jedrzejewski. This is a 4-star book for me. I just think it's really beautiful. It's about these 2 boys who meet on an agricultural camp and they have this little summer love. Everything changes when they have to go back to the city because this is set in the 80s? 60s? It's set in the past in Poland, so super homophobic. They kind of have to make the decision whether they want to continue with their relationship because it's very dangerous, and if they are found out then I'm pretty sure you're imprisoned for it. This references Giovannis Room quite a bit. I don't think you need to read Giovannis Room in order to understand this. They mirror each other a little bit. It's quite sad. Well, no, it's very sad. Yeah, I'm really happy with this book. And then again, I had a really bad book after that one. The next book I read was Milk Teeth by Jessica Andrews, which again was a 2 out of 5, which is annoying. I was so let down with this book. It was so boring. Nothing happened. I did actually read a Goodreads review that said that there was no plot, it's just vibes. And you know what, I would even argue that there are no vibes either. There's no plot, no vibes. I didn't like it at all. It's about a girl who is in a relationship with this guy and then he moves to Spain or something. She's like, oh, shall I move with him even though we haven't really known each other for that long? Basically, she ends up going anyway. And then the whole time she's there, she's like, does he even love me? Like, should I even be here? Blah blah blah. It's just really like whiny and boring. Look, if you have to even question if he likes you or not, then just like leave. I know that a lot of her insecurities comes from her childhood, which we do get to read about because it like jumps between the past and the present, so there's definitely reasons why she's so insecure. I've read about that type of thing before and it didn't come across in such like an annoying way. Like the amount of times where she's questioning their relationship, I just think, end it please. Also, it was just really heavily focused on her eating disorder, which wasn't mentioned anywhere, like in the description on the back, in any of the quotes. Like, it doesn't mention it anywhere, so it just kind of came out of nowhere and I just didn't want to read about that. These quotes are really misleading. It says consuming and sexy, full of the most gorgeous writing, unusually raw. Like, I just don't think it was any of those things. I don't recommend this book. I'm sorry, I just don't. But luckily the next book was worth it. I read a book called Rosewater by Liv Little. Again, I don't have that book with me because it was lent to me by my boss, but I rated it a 3 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. It was about a black lesbian woman who is just going through a really tough time. She loses her house, like she gets kicked out, and then she loses her job. It's just like one thing after the other is just hitting her. And then alongside that, she's kind of having issues with relationships, and one of those relationships is with her really long-term friend. So it's very complicated. She's also a poet and she's kind of struggling in her career in that way. It's very much like I'm in my 20s, I have no idea what's going on. I just thought it was really good. The ending was a bit weird, like maybe a little bit unnecessary. It was exciting and it was unexpected, but I don't think it really added much to the plot. Like the plot was so good already. So yeah, that's why it's a 3 out of 5 and not like higher. That was Rosewater. And then to finish off the 10 books that I read in June and July, I have got a trilogy for you. And I mean, you probably know what it is. I've dedicated a whole video to reading these books, and that is The Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy by Jenny Han. All 3 of these books I rated 3 out of 5, again because they were like good but also not great. I have been watching the Prime series of The Summer I Turned Pretty. I really loved the first season that came out last year, and so I wanted to read all of these books before the second season came out. The first book I actually read when I was like 12 or something, which is like a decade ago, more than a decade ago. Yeah, I know I'm really old, but I'd kind of forgotten what happened, and so I wanted to read these 2 as well. The first book is definitely the best one. Summer vibes, quintessential young adult romance. There's a love triangle between this one girl and these 2 brothers. Well, I guess it's more of an arrow. It's definitely not a triangle between the brothers. Again, they're like lifelong friends, and they've been going to this same beach house pretty much like their whole lives because their mums are best friends. And then one summer, Belly's pretty. Basically, she takes off her glasses and then they're like, wow, she's so pretty. The boys start to fancy her. Lots of things happen. If you're looking for something that doesn't mean anything and is just silly, then this is great. But if you really think about it, it's kind of weird. I think it's really strange that she keeps flitting between these 2 boys who are brothers. How can you kiss one brother and then go and kiss the other? Oh, I just don't know. It makes me feel really icky, and I personally would not, just out of respect. You know, Belly has no respect. No respect for her mum, no respect for the boys, no respect for herself. Like, come on, Belly, where is it? It's for 12-year-olds. It is for 12-year-olds. But I will be watching the rest of the Prime series, and there's probably going to be a season 3, and I will be watching that too. I just think the series is better. It's just as stupid, but it's also pretty fun to watch. That was The Summer I Turned Pretty, and also the end of my June-July reads. There was definitely some ups and downs, and I'm hoping that I'm kind of just gonna go like this for the rest of the year, because I really can't be bothered to have another book that I don't like. I just don't have the time or the energy. Only good books from now on, please. Let me know what you've read in the past 2 months. What was your favourite? What was your least favourite? If you want to keep up with my bookish bits and bobs, you'll follow me on my TikTok, Goodreads and Instagram. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.